Hope you guys are doing good. Pipes in the house. You're muted, just so you know.
I am muted. I'm talking and no one hears me. I feel like I'm with my kids. I wouldn't be like my kids had me on permanent mute. You guys, dude, Nazar, I gotta play a video for you that I in between. First of all, I hope everyone's doing awesome. Actually, Nazar, like greet them, meet them, whatever you got to do. I got a bunch of stuff today. We're gonna we're gonna pivot a little bit. Because I've got about 10 or 15 minutes of stuff that I want to talk to you guys about before we hop into, and it's probably gonna be a 2 call series of some of the key things. I wanted to go a little bit more qualitative with you guys here over the course of the next couple of calls because we've been so quant driven, right? Like scripts, dialogues, etc. I really want to bring in guys like 30 years worth of mentors pouring into me over the course of these next 2 calls, some of the key things that I've learned. But I'd be remiss not to go and spend about 10 or 15 minutes about what we're seeing in the markets around nationally, what you can be doing, etc. We are going to have about 10 to 15 minutes at the beginning of the call, which is going to be quant driven, and then we'll got some qualitative driven like insights that I've had over the last 30 years. But Nazar, anything you want to say before we rock and roll, baby?
Yes, 2 things. One, I invite all those that have not turned your camera on to turn your camera on so you guys can be present and just be here, right? Just be here for a moment. I know that there's deals happening. I know that there's fires that need to be put out. I know that there's personal, stuff going on in everyone's lives. But just for the next 30 minutes, do yourself a favor, honor yourself by being present.
Totally.
Number two, we're almost done with February.
Whew.
20% of 2025 is already gone, which is bananas, right? If you think about it, people were like, oh my gosh, can't wait till 2025. 2 months are gone. It's crazy, right? And it seems like the older I get, the faster that time goes by. But you guys, like, are you 20 or 2 months into your goal? Have you already accomplished 20% of what you said you were going to do this year? And if you haven't, listen, it's okay, right? There's times to make it up. And I know a lot of us are in a seasonal market where during the spring and summer, we crush it. But like, are you sharpening your tools? Are you sharpening your sword so that when it is go time, are you ready to go? And so I hope that you guys could be here present. I invite you to put your phones away. I invite you to get your mind here so that you can be focused and all in because I appreciate every single thing that Pipe says or Bill says. And I just want you to be here to listen. So Bill, please take it away.
Thanks, brother. Man, I appreciate that. And it's really exciting right now for me because I've got just so you guys know, I still coach, right? So like Nazar and I work together on a weekly basis. I coach about 27 teams around the nation. And I will tell you, probably 60% of them are tracking their best, not just tracking their best year ever, guys. And this isn't like, oh, coach is so great. No, right. And come work with me. That's not the conversation. It's I'm watching individuals have massive breakthroughs right now, and many people are tracking to do what they did all last year in the first 6 months. I've got a couple of clients that have already done. Billy Waters, he's at $407,000 worth of commissions closed and pending, and his best year was 380, right? And Tammy Crawford about the same. Like she'll have equaled her best year by month number 4. And I bring that up to you because they did that in a problematic market. Nazar says you're 20% of the way through the year. What I would say is you're setting also the course of how the rest of the year is going to go based upon your efforts and the work that you're doing right now. Does that make sense, guys? You're loading the cannon right now, either with great business for the future. And Christopher, today I'm super stoked and excited because I get to share with you guys some really good data, some really, really good information. Every I get footprints from all over North America, Canada, all the way down to Florida, all the way over to California, all the way up to the Pacific Northwest as well too. And what I will tell you is this is minus one place, every single person is talking about we're seeing an uptick. We're seeing an uptick, and they may not be seeing an uptick in sales just yet, although a lot of them are. But remember how markets move, guys. Markets move like this. We start seeing more leads, okay? we start seeing more people, Bob, answering the phone of our leads. We start having more extensive and expansive conversations with those leads. We start getting more appointments, and then ultimately it ends up with more transactions for us. Okay. There are 3 different locations in North America right now that are getting multiple offers on the good properties right now. Anyone beginning to feel, see, sense any of the movement that this market is beginning to take off? Have you guys felt that at all? I'm just curious for you, right? Just like show me, like, hey, we're seeing some of what you talked about, Pipes, whether it's leads, better conversations, or higher pickup rate, or no, we're still right here, or nah, we're like, I'm completely off. Just thumbs up, thumbs sideways, or thumbs down, just to show me really quick. So let me see really quick. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Get your damn thumbs up. I need to see something. Some of you are like, Sarah Kittleman, you're right in the middle of my screen. I swear to goodness, I'm going to kick you in the ass if you don't get some thumb up. Okay. So we're seeing like thumb up, a lot of thumbs up and a lot of thumbs sideways. Okay. So let me share with you some quant that if you remember, Nazar, the call that I had with you guys at the beginning of January, maybe the end of December, I said, pay attention. Now, this is not a love Trump, like Trump, love what he's doing, like Doge. There's all like political like bear traps that I could step into right now. But I said something at the beginning of January, and the conversation that I had with you guys was, pay attention to this 3-letter word. Does anyone remember what the 3-letter word was? You guys are okay. Write this down. Oil. OIL. Like, you got to pay attention to oil. And this came from some of the insiders, Sarah and Sandy, that I have on Wall Street. They said the thing that's going to drive the economy, the thing that's going to cause, believe it or not, Lisa, interest rates to go down is oil. Okay. And you may think, well, Pipes, why would oil cause it to go down? Well, number one, it caught, like, we feel less of a squeeze for ourselves when we're going to the gas pump, but that's not really it. Does oil impact prices? And the answer is yes. How does oil impact prices, guys? I'm just sort of like, we're going to go economics for about 2 or 3 minutes. How does oil impact prices and drive down inflation? How does
It's
that
in
happen?
almost everything we consume.
Yeah, tell me more about that, John. Like,
I
tell
mean,
me a little bit more about that.
plastics are made of, all the plastics are made of oil. You
Uh
know,
huh.
this thing, the computer, the desks, everything.
So we got the impact of it being inside of just about everything that we purchase. There's also another piece. So you're completely spot on, but there's another piece that is even more impactful shorter term. What do you think it is? Cost of
Uh,
goods. I want you to write this down. Write down cost of goods.
transportation,
You got it,
transportation.
brother. Okay. Watch. Okay. So let's say I have to get eggs from point A to point B, right? And a portion of the cost of eggs, which are like, what are they? I went to go buy eggs the other day, Nazar. It was $11.99 for the happy eggs that I buy. I'm like, geez, holy cow, man, I'm going to sign a prenup for these eggs. This is absolutely crazy, man. So you look at, John, the transportation cost, and if oil is more expensive, right? Then it causes eggs, it causes the shirt that you're wearing, it causes everything to be at a higher rate of inflation. Does that make sense, guys? Yes or no? Okay. And so if you can bring down the cost of oil, then what happens is our consumer goods go down as well, too, because the transportation cost is less. Does that make total sense, guys? Yes or no? It also, if you look at it, makes people want to travel more. They spend more money. If oil is down, that means that the tickets to be able to actually travel are less. Everything is impacted by the energy cost. So at the beginning of January, guys, I said something because it came from 3 of I have 4 people that I rely upon, all of which are 3 of which are billionaires, one of which is knocking on the door of it, 3 of which are insiders on Wall Street, one of which owns one of the largest mortgage companies in North America. Right? I call them. One of them is I call him my BGI. He's my billionaire genius investor. His name's Pavan Argawal, and the other 3 are investors that I can't tell you who they are because they've requested that I don't. Right? So all of them said, pay attention to when Trump comes into office and what he does with oil. They said there's 3 things that need to take place. Number one, he needs to stop the wars in the Middle East and also in the Ukraine. Number two, because does that have an impact on oil? 100%. Why? Well, because Landman is a great, yeah, Landman. If you haven't watched Landman, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's one of the best programs. Billy Bob Thornton is absolutely freaking a beast in that, and I love him. I absolutely love him in that movie or in that program. Now, if he stops the war in the Ukraine, if we get control over the Middle East, then all of a sudden oil production and oil productivity goes up and the prices come down. So did that happen? Yes, that's in the works, right? So that was the first domino that needed to fall. Number two was the opening up of the Keystone pipeline. Did anyone see what Trump came out and said this week? He said we're opening back up Keystone. He said we're getting this rolling again, like this was announced 2 days ago. Now, the third piece was the Venezuela piece, okay? Was Venezuela, right? And what's going to happen with Venezuela? Well, it's funny because yesterday I was looking at stuff and then this morning I said I'm going to Google Trump Venezuela and what's going on. Well, right now he's basically stopped the oil participation with Venezuela to put pressure on the government to be able to actually get control of that as well too. That just happened in the last 24 hours. Three of the freaking dominoes that needed 3 dominoes fell just now. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. And so you look at that and you start to go, okay, if a bunch of really smart, highly intelligent, incredibly capable, and very rich individuals said this is what needs to happen and it's happening, then we have the makings of a really good comeback of the market. Does that make sense, guys? Now, whether you like what Trump is doing or not, this is not a political conversation. There's shit that's going on. He's doing stuff. Does that make sense, guys? There's activity that's taking place, right? And so there's some consumer confidence that's beginning to build as well too. On the heels of that, now watch this. Okay, we have a CPE reading coming in tomorrow, which is an inflationary number reading. Today, we actually have a jobless claims. By the way, Nazar, that email that I send out on every single day on Monday, if you want to send it out to all of 5, it has the economic calendar and my projections of what's going to take place that week with interest rates. Okay, guys? So here's what I'm going to tell you. And I want you to write this down before we get into some of the key points and however long we have to cycle through some of the key things I've learned from my mentors, right? Write this down. February the 12th equals, just write down February the 12th equaled 7.13. Justin, you are like a man now at this point. I remember being at your house when you were like a kid, right? It's sort of crazy. It sort of blows me away, man. So on February the 12th, we're at 7.13% interest rates. Emily, we had been stuck, guys, at 7%. Did you feel that for the last couple of months? Like we would drop down every so often, Shauna, to 6.9, but it would pop back up, David, up into the 7s. That for all intents and purposes, the market was very stagnant. Does that make sense? Okay. Underneath that, write down 71% of buyers said interest rates needed to come down in order for them to move. That there was a rate sensitivity that was keeping them out of the market. Now, has anyone seen what's happened over the course of the last 2 weeks with rates? Has anyone felt what's happening? Have any of your buyers mentioned it at all? Yeah. Write down for me today. We are at, even if we had a little reprice, we're at 6.79%. 6.79%, which is a 34 basis point drop in 2 weeks, Nino. That is freaking substantial. And let me put this in to some numbers that will make sense for you. Okay. So we go, awesome, 30.4% basis point drop. Is that great news, guys, for the markets? Yes or no? Okay. And because of that, we've ultimately seen some wonderful movement of markets, activity of buyers, right? And please write this down, 1.85 million buyers. What this represents, what this 34 to 35 basis point drop represents, is an influx of buyers into the US based market of 1.85 million additional buyers that will have an impact over the course of the next 30 to 45 days. Okay. That comes from realtor.com and also NAR that says every 1 percentage point move in rates down brings another 5 to 6 million buyers into the market at this point. Okay. So we are now sitting on a rocket with the fuse that is sizzling. Does that make sense, guys? Yes or no? Okay. Now, if you don't feel it yet, totally cool. You will eventually. Now, one of the number one investor, the only investor in my company is a gentleman by the name of Pavan Argawal. Pavan runs a company called SunWest Mortgage Company and also has a secondary company called Angel AI. If you're in Southern California, you're familiar with SunWest Mortgage Company because they're one of the largest mortgage brokers in the nation. Okay. Now he's super bearish. And every time I talk to him, Bob, about rates, he said he's been like, nope, they're going up. I had him on a campfire on Tuesday. Here's what he said. Get ready for a substantial drop in rates for the remainder of 2025. A substantial drop in rates for 2025. This comes from a very bearish, a very pessimistic individual, right? Who publicly said that to about 100 to 125 agents that were on that call. Now, what does this all mean? It means this year is going to be great, but it also means that as rates come down, is there going to be more competitiveness, guys? Like we're on it right now. Like it's happening. We're not, hey, Christopher, we're not talking about it going to take place. It's taking place right now. Does that make sense, guys? Yes or no? Like we are in the midst of it. Now, the challenge that we face is this. I was on a little break, drinking my Hoobie Jubies and all my supplements. I happen to have, I keep Fox or I keep, not MSNBC, CNBC up. This was, wait till you hear this. This is what's being peddled still out in the market. Oh, come on, play. Don't do that to me. Ready?
Not a good time to sell your home. Not a good time to sell your home. Whenever people come to me and they ask me this question, I'm going to tell you the truth. Like, it's not a good time right now to sell or buy, unfortunately. And I want to change my tune on that. And I hope that I can this year. But what's happening is that there's a lot of homes that are sitting on the market.
Do you guys hear that? Were you guys able to hear that? That is the bull. I'm going to curse for a second, okay? That's the bullshit narrative that the media is still peddling right now, right? Telling people to wait, right? And so like you have this market that is shifting and shifted already, right? And going to shift more. And you've got a narrative that is out there by a lot of people. You've got Redfin that's came out 6 days ago and said, this is a buyer's market, right? When it really isn't, guys. There are segments that are buyer's markets. There's condos that are buyer's markets. There's Austin that's a buyer's market. There's some other places like that. But my friends, we have got to get really diligent over the course of these next 30 days of getting our buyers off the fence and getting our sellers that need to buy off the fence because it's going to get a lot more competitive. It's not going backwards. Does that make total sense, guys? Yes or no? Okay. And I mean, you have got to be like a doctor that has a client who is smoking cigarettes and has lung cancer in your conversation. That is the urgency that you have to actually create because there are already markets where multiple offers are beginning to pop and it's not going to go backwards. It's going to go forwards. How many of you guys believe that beyond a shadow of a doubt? Like you can see that this is stacking up right now. Just curious. Like I want to see hands up that you can feel it. You can see it, right? That it's going to be taking place. Okay. Beautiful. So here's what I want you to do. Okay. It's really simple. It's a simple dialogue. It's a very basic script, right? I want you to call every lead that you have, every one of them. Your fence sitters start with them, and then your existing buyers go to them. And you're going to have 3 or 4 questions. Question number 1 is, have you seen what occurred with interest rates over the course of the last 2 weeks? Doug, simple question. I like simple. They may say, they're going to say yes or no. If they say yes, then you go, great. What have you seen? If they say yes, great. I'm curious. What have you seen? If they say no, great. Can I share it with you? If they say yes, and you say, what are you seeing? Well, I've seen that they've gone down. You go, you're correct. They've dropped 37 basis points, almost of 1/3% in 2 weeks. Now, here's the key data point, guys. It's the lowest that rates have been in almost 5 months. It's the lowest rates have been in 5 months, and it's the biggest move we've seen in rates since August. Does anyone remember September, John? Shauna, do you remember September, August? Like, how many of you guys remember August and September of 2024? Did the market heat up a little bit at that time, guys? Yes or no? Hell yes, it did. You may not remember it, but I do, right? All of a sudden, people started getting busy, et cetera. Why? Because rates came down. So that's the first question. Question number 2 is, how do you think this drop in rates is impacting the real estate market? I'm wondering, Peter, how do you think this drop in rates has impacted the real estate market? Now, notice, Justin, I'm like an attorney that's a trial attorney asking questions that are going to lead to me being able to position, right? Called baiting someone if they're on the stand. I'm baiting this person because I want to give them the right information. So I say, did you see what happened with rates? Excellent. So yes, you did. Wonderful. What'd you see? You're going to share. So you know that they've actually decreased by 37 basis points, bringing us to the lowest point we've had in almost 5 months and the biggest drop that we've had since August. I'm curious, how do you think this is impacting the real estate economy and the real estate market? Now, what data could I bring in to them at that point where if they go, well, I guess it's made it more active, right? What would you say to them at that point? I gave you some data. What's the data set that you want to bring into them at that point?
The area that they've been looking in, that you've been helping them search in.
Lisa, I would go even more global before I go more specific. Yes, I love that, by the way. But I would say, just so that you know, well, I guess it's made it more active. It has made it more active. In fact, it's 1.6 to 1.8 million more buyers just came into the market because of the drop in rates nationally. That I'm going to insert that in. I'm building the case for urgency. Does that make sense, guys? I'm building the case for urgency around this. Okay. Right. Then number 3, third question. So I've validated rates have come down. I validated, hey, you know what? We're moving in the right direction. It's it's the biggest move that we've seen since August of 2024. It's the lowest that rates have been since October, right? I validated there's more competition coming in. And I'm going to say this in line number 3. Line number 3, and by the way, I don't have this in a script. This is just if you don't write it down, you're going to miss it, okay? So I encourage you to write it down or go back and watch this. Line number 3 is this. With the decrease in rates and the increase in activity of buyers, how does this impact your plans to blank? With the decrease in rates and the increase in buyer activity and competition, how does this impact your plans to buy a home by June, like you had told me? Now, notice, McCall, it's super simple because hopefully, Doug, what I've done is I've created some awareness, a switch over from this BS that's being peddled by the media for them to see the reality of what's going on. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you guys one more little data set that you can use that's super, super effective. Okay. Case-Shiller came out and established. You guys know what Case-Shiller is? How many of you guys know what Case-Shiller is? Anyone? Case-Shiller is Case-Shiller is a company that measures about 25 different real estate markets, and they give data on those markets. They came out with their December numbers, which is year-over-year numbers. Even with everything we went through, right? The real estate market increased last year. The Case-Shiller number increased by 3.9%. That means home prices, even in the problematic market, increased by 3.9%, almost 4%. So I can bring that in if I want to them. Now I go, see what happened with rates, conversation around that. Number 2, what do you think that impact that's had on the market? Establish that there's more activity that's taking place and more buyers coming into the market. Number 3, how does this impact you? Then I ask this question, okay? I say, so my question is, do you know what, Nazar? I'm going to do something for you guys. would you like for me to type this up and create it and send it over to you? How many of you guys would like this? Yes or no? Like, I know you guys are feverishly writing right now, but why don't I have a break after this. Nazar, give me 10 minutes. This will be typed up, sent over to you. You guys, 5 will be the first group to actually get this. Even my internal group of G3 doesn't have this yet, Chuck, do they? Even though I've talked about it, right? So you guys will be the first group to actually get it. I say, so my question is, Nazar, do you want to be bought and moved into your new home by June, or do you want to wait and have all that competition and start the process at that time? And then fortunately, to get you one step closer to being ahead of the competition, being able to actually still get still purchase while you have some negotiating power. All we need to do is set a quick 15-minute strategy session so myself and my team can help you get what you want the time you want. That's it, guys. The goal right now is to get in front of as many of your buyers as you possibly can, because how many of you guys can recognize, Shauna, Doug, that the longer they wait, the more problematic their situation could become? Do you guys see that? Yes or no? Okay. Right. So if I were still actively selling, which I don't have my license, I obviously let my license lapse so I could speak to all the different companies instead of just the one that I was part of. Guys, if I actively had my license right now, I would aggressively be calling everyone and having like one of those conversations that's like, my gosh, we've got to do something right now. Okay. Because inventory is going to drop. I guarantee you, mark my words, inventory is going to drop. Rates by the end of March will be in the 6.6s. We're at 6.78 right now. And on top of that, you're going to see prices begin to increase and multiple offers come back, right? I hang my hat on that, right? And I need you guys to believe that. Now, more so than ever, it's critically important that you guys are leaning into Housing Wire, Keeping Current Matters, Altos Research on the daily for 10 to 15 minutes. If you are not doing that, Lauren, you are not positioned to be able to have intelligent conversations that are data-driven, that remove the drama and gives them the reality of what's taking place. Okay? So that is, guys, I got 10 points for you. I didn't get to any of them. We're going to save those for next time. But this right now for me is like near and dear to my heart, because as we get into this spring market, how many of you guys naturally have an uptick in activity in the spring? Like it's a natural uptick in the spring. Now we throw, hey, Lauren, we throw on top of this, like a 50 basis point drop. Because if we come down from 7.13 all the way down to 6.63 or somewhere around there, we're at 50 basis point drop. You throw in a half a percentage point drop in rates. Do you guys see that this spring market is going to get really aggressive for people? Yes or no?
Yeah.
So I coach.
We're at 6.5 right here now.
Yeah. So there are some mortgage brokers and some of your lenders that are probably got you guys down lower than that. That's the general average according to Mortgage News Daily, which I lean into every single day, right? So I coach Laura Rhodes, great agent, amazing team in Sarasota. 3 of their agents on the team said, we're on our 3rd offer. Or 3 said we're either on our 2nd offer, we missed out on this one, we're on our 3rd offer. And that's in an area that had problematic challenges because of the hurricanes and everything else, right? Now, that's not condo market, that's single family residences. So I want you guys to recognize it's starting to heat map. Does that make sense? I'm starting to see it. Please take it from me. I'm starting to see it across the nation right now where these little pockets are heating up, right? It's starting with the really good homes that are most desirable. It will eventually begin to actually trickle out to the rest of the nation, right? And it will begin to trickle down to the properties that aren't as desirable because the good ones are getting gobbled up like Pac-Man or Attila the Hun. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. Any questions on this? Questions? So, hey guys, these next 2 days, that's the conversation to have with them. That's call every single lead, have those conversations with them, get them off the fence, right? Let them know what's coming, back it up with the data that I just gave you, right? And you're going to end up, I guarantee you, I have a gal that's in our G3 network. Her name is Carolyn Romberg. Carolyn Romberg said, hey, I decided to use this and I called a whole bunch of my old leads from open houses. She goes, they had been dead. They hadn't responded to me. Nothing had really happened. Out of 8 conversations that she had, she got 2 buyer appointments from those leads that had been dead. Why? Because they got revived based upon rates. Does that make sense, guys? Like there's a revival that's taking place based upon people seeing, hey, I've got more affordability, I probably want to act right now, etc. Okay. So, all right, Nazar, anything you want to say around this? I know we had marketed this as the 10 lessons that I have from my mentors, right? Which we will get to, I promise you, but this was more important to me than that. Okay.
I mean, for me, what I loved about this masterclass is like everyone was like paying attention, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys being willing to pay attention. But think about if we as agents were like, "Ooh, that's interesting. I didn't know that." Imagine what the consumer or the potential consumer is thinking. They're getting inundated with people that they're watching the news, they're seeing reels, they're seeing all this just crazy everything that's happening, and all of that is creating a lot of uncertainty, right? The again, not getting political, but like there's just a lot of movement, a lot of changes that are taking place, and that's causing fear. And so we have to be the people that are grounded, that we have to be the ones that are saying, hey, things are not gonna like the world's not ending, right? And then go after the people that need to make a move.
Yeah, totally.
Go after the buyers that aren't needing to buy. And if it happens to be that their objection is that the rates are too high and the affordability is too high, then I want you guys to feel comfortable enough to like get your calculator out, either through a title company or through Zillow, whatever it is. Learn to get very specific on actual payment, because people get fixated on what the rate is and don't think about what the actual payment is. And they buy a payment, they don't buy a rate.
Totally.
And so like say, hey, listen, let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about what that payment would be if you bought that home today at $500,000 at 6.85% interest rate. What's that payment going to be? Like get very specific on knowing how to get that for them. And then say, cool, what do you think rates are going to be in the next year if you wait? Oh, they might go down from 6.85 to 6.25. Cool. Let's see what that payment's going to be if that happens. Oh, my payment only goes down by $100. Interesting. Well, what happens if that rate goes down and everyone else that's having the same thoughts you have now jump in the market and flood the market with more buyers? And so the demand goes up and the inventory is still the same. Values go up.
Yep.
So what happens if your payment, or if the same home that you can buy now for 500,000 now goes up to 550? How would that impact your payment? Like
Totally.
you guys these are the types of, I know it's more analytical, and if you want to get your lender involved to do it for you, that's fine. But if you can have those very specific conversations, as agents, I see a lot of people that get stuck on surface level, and you get hit by an objection. You're like, oh, okay. And you try to resolve it and it doesn't get resolved. And you're like, okay, well, all right, I guess I'll talk to you later. I'll call you in a couple months. But if you can say, hey, let's kind of dive in here, because this is important. This is something that's going to either make or break you. And trust me, if I can help you kind of diffuse all of the fog and really get to like the actual numbers, then maybe it makes more sense. And
Totally.
guess what happens, you guys? If you could help them realize that it's not that difficult, it's not that, and if you peel back all the layers and get to the root of where they're at, you might help them realize that it does make sense to buy right now.
Totally.
And if it
Especially,
doesn't, that's okay too. But as you are able to be the person that helps them do that, helps them go through that exercise instead of any other agent that's out there that's like, oh, okay, cool. Right? Like you have to be the person that delivers more value. And this is the type of conversation that you can do that. Now, you could do this both specifically someone, or take it more generalized and have these conversations on social media.
so much, so good video for that. By the way, Nazar, on top of that, like when you talk payment, remember, guys, if I'm representing a buyer that's buying a $500,000 house and we just stick with the 4% appreciation model that we saw, right, for 2024, that's $20,000 worth of equity grab that they get, right, on that property. So even if they're paying a little bit more on their payment, if they have the fiscal ability to be able to do it, every month that they wait, they're missing out on about $1,500 worth of equity grab on that property at that point, right? Just on the 4% model, which was with rates being really problematic towards the end of the year, and we could see it closer to 7 to 8%, which really is almost $3,000 a month on a $500,000 purchase that they're missing, right? That's our job, is to be able to show them these numbers, right? And be able to actually help them level it out and to make more into, listen, the goal of education-based, value-driven, which is what I teach selling, is to educate the motivated to make better and more intelligent decisions. Okay, guys? So hopefully today this helped. Remember, you cannot educate someone if you're stupid. So therefore, you need to be studying the market, and you need to be studying all of the national, that I've given you, Altos, Keeping Current Matters, and also Housing Wire and Housing Wire daily. Dig into those now more than ever. It's more important because it's the educated agent that's going to guide their clients the best and create the certainty and the authority that they need to be able to actually direct them. So have an amazing couple of weeks, guys. I hope you got some value out of this. I still got this 10 lessons, right? So I haven't forgotten about it, but this was in front of the tire of the bike right now, and I wanted to get you guys ahead of it. Okay. So take care, guys. I will see you in 2 weeks. Nazar, I'll get that script over to you in the next 30 minutes. Okay. So,
Awesome.
all right. Thank you guys. Sending you love and appreciation and power. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.